Welcome back to this final segment of Broncos Beat. Guys, last segment we discussed how Von Miller was the only Bronco to make PFF's top 50 players heading into the 2020 season, but I have a feeling that that will not be the case after this 2020 season. So which Bronco or Broncos do you guys think will make this list in 2021?
Well, Alexis, you're right. Hey, listen, Von Miller was the only deserving player from last year's team that can make our top 50. But I think moving forward in 2020, I think you can have multiple players that could crack our top 50. And I would start with wide receiver Courtland Sutton. He was so good last year. Even after Emmanuel Sanders had been traded, we saw his grades and his production skyrocket, even though there was some volatility at the quarterback position. And I think if they have some stability at the quarterback position with an improved offensive line, I think Courtland Sutton, in terms of the trajectory of his career, I could see him cracking our top 50.
Yeah, over 1,100 yards with 3 different quarterbacks. That's pretty good, right, guys?
Yeah, him and Kenny Golladay. They're the 2 receivers that went over 1,000 yards with 3 different QBs. And, well, Locke was the only good one, let's be honest. And I'm going to channel my inner Colin Cowherd as the radio guy here and say, Drew Lock in the top 50. If he's in the MVP conversation, I mean, seriously, if people are saying he could win MVP, not eventually, but this year, I'm saying Locke taking that step with Sutton there, with Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to gather everybody in. But when you talk about this improved offense, right, and that Fangio defense in year 2, helping out that young offense, if Drew Lock truly is the franchise quarterback that we all believe he could be for this Broncos team, I'll say Drew Lock in the top 50 next year.
Is it too soon, though?
Never. If people are legitimately saying MVP conversations for Drew Lock, and when you're a young quarterback, when you know, you know. Solly will tell you that, right? When you know, you know. When you know a guy can play, you see it immediately. There's no ramping up. There's no time. There's no waiting around. When's Sam Darnold going to come through? Nope. If Drew Lock's the man, they'll show us this year.
Well, Cecil says when people are saying Drew Lock is an MVP candidate, when Colin Cowherd is saying Drew Lock is an MVP candidate, I could go with the guy who's picked right next to Drew Lock, and that could be Dalton Reisner, who I remember talking to coaches a year ago his rookie season, and they were already telling me he is our best offensive lineman. He is our smartest offensive lineman, and now he's going into his sophomore season. I think that's a guy to keep an eye on because of the way he plays and the style in which he plays, and talking to some people recently, the way they think that interior line is going to be able to play, and if that pans out the way they think, he could maybe be the guy. And then the other one I think of is kind of Justin Simmons, a guy that nobody really nationally talks about. So I'd like to be a national guy to talk about him as one of the best safeties in all of football. And I think he is coming into form in how he plays. Those are 2 guys in my mind that have a chance. But again, I looked at this list and the names are on it. And you look at the names that aren't on it. A guy like Lane Johnson is not on that list. I mean, that's one of the best right tackles in all of football. This is a tough list to make.
What about Bradley Chubb or Kareem Jackson? Like, there's a lot of other guys who I think could make this list.
Yeah, but you have guys on the same team at the same positions, right, that are kind of competing with him. If there's going to be an edge rusher to make it off his team, it's probably going to be Von Miller. If there's going to be a safety to make this list off this team, it's probably going to be Justin Simmons. There's some great safeties in our league who also did not make this list. But, it's a tough list to make, highly competitive, and I think very well thought out.
Well, tough list to make, as Solly points out, but just look at everybody we're considering. I'm the, reflect guy today on today's show, but look at everyone we're considering legitimately as top 50 players. The Broncos are on their way up. They are an up-and-coming team in the National Football League, and there might be more than one, more than 2, more than 3 Broncos on this list.
That's a little side note I want to make, Alexis. There was an article just on NFL.com yesterday about 9 bandwagon teams to jump on. The Broncos are on there, and they said jump on them now in our article because you want to get a premium seat. This is more of a long play. So I think we might see more of these guys down the road on these lists as opposed to just right away and being upset there's only one this past year.
And I even think about new Broncos, Melvin Gordon, Jarrell Casey. I mean, these are guys who we haven't even seen in a Broncos uniform yet, but I have a feeling that there might be a case for them too.
Yeah, if this were a stock, right, if we could purchase shares in any team
I like that.
Around the league, I'm buying, okay, when it comes to the Denver Broncos. And I think what Cecil was saying about Drew Lock, I think a lot of this centers around him. But the way that they built the team around him is giving him every opportunity, not just to succeed, but to play his style of play. You go out and you get speed at the wide receiver position. That plays into Drew Lock really being able to play his style, which is pushing the ball down the field with great accuracy and great arm strength. That plays to his game, and then backed up by a really good defense and a trio of running backs to help move the ball down the field. I think everything is set up for the quarterback to do well, which means everything is set up for this team to do well in 2020.